Welcome back to another episode with the Investment Dominator. And today is really going to be our Monday session. And during this session, we go ahead and cover the topic of the big three. If this is your first time joining tonight, thank you guys for joining. And just to remind everybody about these Monday calls, this is going to be primarily directed towards beginner users for the Investment Dominator. So we're going to go ahead and get you set up and make sure you're all good to go. And the big three that we had mentioned before, so that's the profile section. We're going to be going over that extensively, followed by company information. And then last but not least, working on setting up our domains. So right after we're done with this session, we'll go ahead and take any further questions. Just keep in mind that because of our Monday sessions, we're going to keep these questions catered towards our beginners. And if we get through all of those questions, we'll go ahead and answer any more remaining ones if we have time. But my name is Dominic. I go ahead and work with Investment Dominator as IT support. So happy to be on tonight. And if you guys have any questions at all during the presentation, just know that you can go ahead and click on the Go to Webinar drop-down box right under questions, like you'll see right here. And right when you click that box, you actually can see there's a little option down below, or you can go ahead and submit your questions. Just keep in mind, I'm not going to be looking at, if you're raising your hand. So just go ahead and just ask your question. And once we have some time, we'll get to it. So for instance, if you guys are hearing my audio well and everything sounds good, make sure that I'm not talking to myself. Go ahead and just type hello into the question bar down below. So just keeping things consistent with the Investment Dominator, just keep in mind that really all of our processes involve this LPG deal flow. And what this is going to basically do is set up some milestones in order to really hit that end goal of being able to take these properties, being able to market them on your selling site, and then getting paid. So just keep in mind that before you get to that step, that's the last step, you're going to have to go ahead and select your target market, go ahead and get a list of landowners, filter that list, and then you're going to want to do your mailings, do your research, and then make your offers. So, the Investment Dominator has a lot of advanced options and advanced features. We go over that as well on our Thursday calls. But a call like today is basically going to get you all set up. And we actually do have a maximizer going on tomorrow. So for those of you who are joining, this is kind of just great, keep up work to be able to really hit the ground running. So thank you all for commenting and saying hello back, and let's go ahead and continue on. So just keep in mind, if this is your first time using the Investment Dominator, really this is an all-around tool to be able to perform many functions. So you'll see here on the left-hand side, this is all going to be information that you have. So information such as your company information, county data, any offer requests you have, property details, tasks. So basically, you're taking all this information that you get and you're putting it into the Investment Dominator, whether that be through uploading a CSV list or using data tree, and things like that. So you're putting all this data in, and what you're able to output are letters, offers, websites, calculators and tools, analytics, as well as team management. So there's really a lot that you can do with the Investment Dominator, and we're just going to go ahead and take a small dive as to some of the things that we can do. But without further ado, let's go ahead and just dive straight into the Investment Dominator. So right upon logging in with the Investment Dominator, the first thing that you're going to go ahead and notice is that you'll get a welcome message, and also if you have any pending tasks, that'll be there as well. But really, this help guide, this wizard screen here, this is going to walk you through the basics of the Investment Dominator, So if this is your first time going through this, I definitely recommend you, just kind of get a feel for the Investment Dominator. There's a lot of advanced features like we mentioned, but just keeping things simple for right now. So just go ahead and process through the tour and it'll go ahead and walk you through. But for this case, we can actually just go ahead and hit end tour. So right now, we're going to do our first item of the big three. And again, that is our profile section. So right up here, and right next to team, you'll see profile. Go ahead and click on that. So now what you're being presented with is basically all the information for your profile section. So we're going to break this down one by one, as well as get into our signature image here, which is a great, neat feature to really get started with the Investment Dominator. So just a little preface before we begin this section as well. This information that you're entering is only going to be used for Investment Dominator support purposes. So you don't have to worry about any of this information here being sent out for marketing purposes. This is primarily going to be used how IT support can reach you and contact you. So for instance, go ahead and put your first name as well as your last name, and then just the email that you can be best reached at. And again, this is for support. So during tickets, let's say if you need to reset your password, this is kind of where that email will go there as well too. And you'll actually see a spot down here below where you can change your password. So next you have the phone number section. Just go ahead and put your phone number in there, as well as the time zone. So the time zone really applies for when we are trying to reach out and contact you, just kind of getting a feel of where and exactly our response is going to be. This is pretty helpful. So next we have a great feature here just for signature image, and one thing I kind of want to highlight is that actually you'll see these tips all throughout the Investment Dominator. There are a bracket symbol and in between a question mark, like you'll see there. And basically, if you hover over it with your mouse, you'll get a tip. So the tip here is that your signature file should be in a JPEG format or PNG format, which is helpful when we go ahead and break down this section right now. So you'll see here that when we are looking at our signature image, just keep in mind that your signature will be printed out on your letters if you so choose. And you have two options to go about that method. So you can either generate a signature or you can upload a signature. Let's go ahead and just take a look at generating a signature. So when you generate a signature, right when you click the button, you'll notice that the prompt goes ahead and pops up. This is going to ask for some fields as well as a choice of color option and a font option as well. So let's go ahead and input our names. So my name is Dominic, and I'll go ahead and select the font, and let's do Sacramento. So you can see that we have these available fonts here. For this section, we don't have any more fonts available, so just keep that in mind. But let's say that you wanted to make your letters stand out more, for instance, by changing the color. Let's say to something like a blue. So you can see there, that was just a quick option for how you could do it, but really just playing around with this color slider or choosing these available options down here. You can go ahead and choose the color. But one thing we want to keep in mind is that if we are choosing another color besides the default, there is going to be a premium in printing. So especially for a color like blue, you'll notice a small upcharge in your mailings, and depending on if you're cost conscientious, you would want to not do that or continue to do that. Either way, once you're done and you've kind of see the formatting that you like, you can go ahead and actually hit the green button here to insert signature. So now you'll see I already had a signature loaded up here, but now in creating my new signature, it takes preface right there. So in order for these changes to be reflected into the system, what we're actually going to have to do is update our site. So anytime we're making important changes within the Investment Dominator, just keep in mind that you want to update your site always. So in this particular case, let's go ahead and hit the blue button right here. So again, this is just scrolling down to the bottom. and hitting update. You'll see that our new signature now takes place right there. And we can go ahead and test that further by just kind of going back to our neutral letters, which we can do after we talk about the big three. So the next option that you can go ahead and do as well, let's say that you don't like the generated signature that's provided. What you can go ahead and do is actually upload your signature image. I do believe I have a signature here. Yep, the sample signature. Let's go ahead and open this. So now this screen is a little bit different than the one that we saw for generating a signature. And now since this is a image that's already on our computer, the next thing that it's going to go ahead and ask us to do is to crop this image. So just keep in mind, if you really eliminate a lot of the white space that's surrounding your signature, you may result in a bigger picture. So by me cropping and taking more of this white space that we have here, you can see, instead of sizing it down, what's able to happen is that we'll get a little bit of a smaller image. So that's perfect. That's something that we want to work with. Let's go ahead and actually just update our site now to reflect these changes. So right there, two different ways how you can update your signature for your neutral letters. So next, just keep in mind that password section that we talked about. And also, whenever you're accessing the Investment Dominator, the Enable Tour will pop up until you disable that. So you can also disable that within the profile section just by selecting No. And one last update site, just to make sure we confirm all the changes. So this is the first item of the big three. And we're going to go ahead and now jump into the company information section. So if you go ahead and head to the top bar where we're at for the profile section, if you scroll left until you see Customize, go ahead and click on Customize. Now what you'll notice is that you'll see several fields here in which you can select and just kind of either browse the information or exactly pinpoint what you want to do. So for this specific section, we're working with the company information. So go ahead and click on company information. Now, one thing I do want to highlight is we're going to go over quite a lot of information within this section. So do recommend if you are taking notes, just kind of stay focused on just the materials here first. And then what we're going to go ahead and break down is the phone system that's required. So just keep in mind, a lot of the recommendations that we're going to make here are recommendations that we're making because of just proven and tested methods. So really, you can use other outside sources. Don't think like you have to use one specific way in order to do this. But just keep in mind, the stuff that we do recommend, we have documentation for, which we can go over on our user guide. And it's really just a resource where you could find all sorts of tools about all this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and break down the company information. And just keep in mind, just a little bit of a high-level overview, the company phone, as well as the offer phone and the selling site phone, we're going to go into greater detail. But for right now, let's just go ahead and look at just some of the fields that, some of the information that we have here. So for instance, the company phone, you can see we have a number 510, and this is going to be your extension 1. So for instance, your extension 1 can point to a 24-hour call center, such as Pat Live or Smith AI. Again, we're going to break this down further. But next we have company fax. Company fax we don't really see too often, so you don't have to worry about putting information into this field. But if you do have a fax for your specific company, let's say if you're working at home, then you would go ahead and enter that there. And just keep in mind of these hints listed here throughout as well. So next you have your company email. So just keep in mind that this email is going to be different from the one from the profile section. So this email is going to be specifically for your company. This is where all of your company emails is going to go ahead and just kind of migrate to this specific email here that you have listed. So once you're done with that, then the next is your company name. And just a couple of tidbits about company name. Uh, really should be in the process of getting this LLC to, establish your name as a company. But keep in mind that we do have a temporary method in case if, you're just starting out and you want to actually be able to still use something. So what you can go ahead and do is actually type in DBA, which stands for doing business as, and then follow that by your name. So keep in mind, even if you are in the process of getting your LLC, let's say you want to begin sending out mailings, we do recommend using this method. But if your end goal should be getting this LLC name. So next we have company address. Company address, you'll see something like 345 Sunny Road Lane here. But another tidbit that I kind of want to bring up with this is that for your company address, let's say if you are working remote, which is perfectly fine given the climate of what's going on now, but you don't want to go ahead and list your actual home address under your company address. Now, keep in mind, when you're sending out mailings and you're sending out offers specifically, one thing that you don't want people to know is your actual home address. So, in case if a deal goes south, or in case if somebody, was offended by a deal or anything like that, for your protection, you do not want to go ahead and list that actual address. So, now you might be asking, well, what do I do if I don't list my actual home address? Well, what you can actually do is actually go to the UPS store and get a mailbox. And what they're going to go ahead and do is direct your mail specifically to that box. So under your company address, you can have something like this, but what you don't want to have is something like this. You don't want to have any PO box number or anything filler like information like that listed under your company address. Now, you might be asking why, and really the reason is when you're sending out your mailings, you want to send a good first impression. And if your first impression is that you pick up the piece of mail and you see that it says, PO box, and then the following number sequence, that's unprofessional, and you might get somebody who just throws it in the trash or just puts it aside because they think it's junk. So in order to prevent that, just kind of going about this method here and just putting the address of the actual UPS store, not only will your mail get directed to you, but you'll give a good first impression as well. So next we have a company city. Go ahead and just put the city, and company state. So one thing I kind of want to bring up for this as well is if you are using the REI print mail integration, you do want to have your company state listed like this. So by state code rather than typing this. We could break that down further, but let's go ahead and do that after this section. So next you'll go ahead and enter your company zip code. Then you'll see here we have our offer phone. Our offer phone is quite similar to our company phone. And you can actually see here it's the same exact number, but this company phone is our extension 1, which directs to Pat Live or Smith AI. And then you'll see here on the offer phone, this actually goes to a Google Voice or Skype number. Now again, these are just our recommendations, but just keep in mind for right now that both of these numbers are the same. And we have it split off on extensions, and it has 2 different functionalities. So this is all come in handy later. So next you'll see that I have offer email, and I have this as blank, and this is intentional. And I have selling site email here as well, which is blank too. So if you leave your selling site email and your offer email blank, but you fill in your company email, what you'll notice is that all the information going to your offer email or your selling site email will now direct just to your company email. So if you have a hard time really, keeping track and keeping organized, this is just a great method to go ahead and compensate for that. But again, if you would like to have a separate offer email and a separate selling site email, just go ahead and fill in both of these with the appropriate emails. So then we have our selling site phone. So just another thing that we want to bring up is the selling site phone is actually completely different than our two extensions. So this is intentional, and we'll go over that in just a bit. Next, we have our company time zone. So just keep in mind through, where your company is operating, depending on where you are in the world. And as well, if you wanted to go ahead and list company notes, you can see here that under the company notes section, I have things like hours of, or business hours, I should say. And you'll see here, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Just keep in mind as well that this will also print on your neutral letters when you're sending out your mailing. So the next section that we have here is real estate agent broker disclosure. So if you are a real estate agent or a broker, you'll need to go ahead and disclose that information. This is just for legal implications that are involved with the business, but keep in mind that by clicking yes, you'll see that there's a new prompt down below called agent disclosure. And what this is going to go ahead and do is provide you with a prompt as to just kind of like a disclosure. And depending on where you are operating, where you are doing your business, you would either have to add more information to this disclosure or take away and have less information on this. So if you are a real estate agent or a broker, you would know what to go ahead and do. Since I am not, I'll go ahead and hit no. But the next section that you'll see here is tax ID type. And tax ID type is available to be input with 3 numbers. You could either do your SSN, your TIN, or your EIN. And then tax ID is where you would go ahead and put that. Now just keep in mind that if you are not using the Investment Dominator for tax documents, which a lot of people aren't, so just keep that in mind. But we do have people who have active loans and who are using 1098 forms. There is a direct way within the Investment Dominator for you to generate those documents, which then gets sent to your tax advisor as well as to the IRS. If you would like to have that functionality in order to go ahead and generate those forms, you would need to go ahead and put that tax ID number. But if this does not apply to you at all, you can actually just go ahead and leave that blank and you'll be good to go. Last but not least, just remember that at the bottom, you can go ahead and hit update site. So now let's go ahead and break down the phone system a little bit more. And we just want to be able to see visually and talk about our recommended phone setup. Whoops, looks like that has to reload there. All right, so what we have here is our recommended phone setup for 2 lines. So this is going to be breaking down the company information that we were talking about before. So to put it in kind of layman's terms, you'll have your local number 1 here and your local number 2. Your local number 1 leads to your extension 1 and your extension 2. Your extension 1 is your company phone. This is where people are going to call in to request an offer. Now, again, we recommend using a service called Pat Live. Pat Live is a 24-hour call center that'll go ahead and process those new offer requests that you get. Then you'll see here on the local number 1, but extension 2, this is going to be your offer phone. This is when people call in with questions about your offer that you have sent them. So there's 2 different groups that are going to each extension. Now just keep in mind of the overall goal here. So this whole 2-line setup process is from Ring Central. Ring Central is a separate subscription service compared to the Investment Dominator, and as well as Pat Live too. So Ring Central is providing us with these 2 lines, local number 1 and local number 2. Pat Live is then taking our extension 1 from our local number 1, and we're able to delegate that to Pat Live so that they can process our new offer requests. So when we look at this chart, really, your offer phone and your company phone, which is right here, these are your sellers of property. Now keep in mind, let's look back at our fields. Your company phone will print out on your neutral letters. And your company phone has people interested that are trying to sell land. And your offer phone is also sellers of land. But the reason why you have your extension 1 and your extension 2 is because your extension 1 is processing those new offer requests. But for anybody who wants to talk about the inner workings of your deals and what you sent to them, that's going to be directed to you, not to a 24-hour call center like Pat Live. So this is why we recommend a number like a Google Voice or a Skype number for your offer phone. Then last but not least, we have the local number 2 over here, and this is going to be your selling site phone. This phone is going to be about questions about your land for sale. So when we look back here, this is a separate number altogether because you want to be readily available to pick up these calls. This is really going to be worth your time to pick up, and we're really talking about pennies on the dollar here. So you want to be able to be best available when somebody calls that selling site phone. So that'll go ahead and break down our 2-line setup. And just keep in mind that we do have another recommendation here as well for a 3-line setup. The main difference between the 2-line setup and the 3-line setup is that the 3-line setup will be more expensive as compared to the 2-line setup. This is because of the extensions. With our 3-line setup, there is no extensions involved. Instead, each local number provided by Ring Central is actually dedicated to each service. So your local number 1 is completely dedicated to people that want to request an offer. Your local number 2 is questions about your offer, and your local number 3 is questions about your land for sale. So again, this is the more expensive option. I believe this one is, I do believe it's around, I'm not sure exact on pricing, I believe it's around 30 something, but do not hold me to that. Things do change, but just keep in mind that when you're talking to the Ring Central representative on the phone, that you want to be very strict about this 2-line setup, and you want to be very strict about the extensions. It is best helpful for you to go ahead and actually pull up this diagram, and we can show you how to do that exactly while you're on the phone with them. So that goes ahead and talks about our phone system setup, as well as all the information within our company information. So like I said, there was a lot of information, but do keep in mind that all of these sessions are recorded, so you're able to just kind of go back and view them at any time. And now the last section that we want to go ahead and work with is our domain section. So let's actually go to the help section of the Investment Dominator, clicking on help next to the logout button, and then going to search our user guide. Go ahead and type the word domain and search our user guide. This will then prompt a window to pop up where you can go ahead and see we have an article here called How to Configure Your Website's Domain. So now we recommend using GoDaddy when trying to get a new website domain, but just keep in mind that you can use any provider out there that is available, but we do have a specific guide for GoDaddy and specific resources to kind of help with that. So now the main goal of creating your own or mapping your own domains is that the Investment Dominator provides these websites by default. Now this has no type of personality to it, and if somebody was to click on this on the web or see this on your letters, it really wouldn't stand out, and it wouldn't really convey your company. So go ahead and buy 2 domains. Now using GoDaddy, I believe you could get 2 domains for about $11. Now keep in mind $11 each. But when you do this, you have a domain for your buying site and your selling site. Your buying site domain can be a name such as joebuysdirt.com, but your selling site you want to have a name that pops. So for instance, my selling site domain is lotsofcashoffers.com. What this is going to go ahead and do is just to reflect more since people are going to either view your property listings and interact more with your selling site. So now keep in mind, if you don't use GoDaddy, really the main process of what you're going to want to go ahead and do, and we talk about this in support as well, is we want to go ahead and point your CNAME record to the Investment Dominator. This is going to allow you to point your created domain to the Investment Dominator, which will then give you access to all of the functionality and all of the features, including a free SSL or secured socket layer. And keep in mind that when you're getting your domains, you don't have to buy any security for your websites since we provide that for free. But without further ado, you'll see here that you can just log into GoDaddy, and just keep in mind that this image does get updated quite frequently from GoDaddy, so it might not look the same. But let's go ahead here and open this up, and we'll see we're in our domain section. So now we want to just go ahead to My Products and go ahead and select the domain that we're working with. So let's go ahead back here. So I believe we are in the section already that we're working with. So let's see. Next, you go ahead and find your domain down here and click on Manage. So when you do that, you'll enter your domain settings, and that's how you'll get to this section here. Now, if I scroll down, I'll see that I have my lotsofcashoffers.com, which is my selling site that we're going to go ahead and demonstrate. So once you find this appropriate section, next you want to go ahead and click on DNS and select Manage Zones. Now keep in mind this article is actually step by step, so the exact steps that we're doing to go ahead and walk through this process are listed out in article form if you do prefer to just read that. But going back here to GoDaddy, I'll click on DNS and I'll go to Manage Zones. So this will just take a second to load, but it'll go ahead and prompt us for a domain name, which we'll see here as well. So just by beginning to type your domain name, so mine is Lots of Cash Offers. We'll see, all I did was type in L and my domain name popped up right here. Go ahead and click on that. So now we're going to work with the records section, as we'll see right here. So this is really the bulk of the assignment of what we have to do. So you'll see in records, we want to go ahead and find that CNAME record and we want to make changes to it. So you'll see here, type, you'll see CNAME. So focus on the CNAME that has, well, actually, I think by default it will be different for you guys, but it should say CNAME and www. And if not, just go ahead and follow this example here. So this CNAME value, not this one here. Go ahead and click on Edit, and you'll see it pop up like this, which we'll see here. So yeah, the host should have been default www. Points to had the @ symbol there. So go ahead and you want to change this information. You want to keep the www under your host, but under points to, instead of the @ symbol, go ahead and just type in investmentdominator.com. Then TTL, which also stands for time to load, go ahead and select that for custom. And you want to go ahead and choose the option 600 seconds. So what this is going to do is every time our website loads, it'll take about 600 seconds, let's say, in case if there was some information which updated. So that's the bulk and the majority of the assignment for, pointing your CNAME record. So you'd have to do that for both of your domains. And then you'll want to scroll down to the bottom and you'll see this forwarding section here, which you'll also see in the tutorial. So now under forwarding, if it's not set up, go ahead and click on Add and set this up. What you'll really go ahead and do is under forward to, you'll see we entered HTTP. Now we selected HTTP because we don't have any security that we bought for these domains because we don't have to. So select HTTP, and then for forward to, then for this section, go ahead and type in your domain name with the www dot followed by .com. Under forward type, select permanent, and under settings, select forward only. This is going to be the last section for our domain section, and once you're done, go ahead and hit on save. Because I didn't change anything, I'll just cancel for right now. So now you did the bulk of the assignment in pointing your CNAME record and setting up your forwarding. So now the last thing for you to do is to go ahead and map your domain to the Investment Dominator. Keep in mind, since you do have your buying and your selling site, you'll need to repeat this process twice. But what you'll want to go ahead and do is go back to the Investment Dominator, go ahead and click on Customize. And then once you're in this section, you'll have two options here. So you'll have your buying and your selling. I'm working with my selling site, so I'll click on Selling here. You'll see that your selling site domain is the default name, which is provided by the Investment Dominator. Let's go ahead and change your domain. Now we're prompted with the window to enter our new selling site domain. We could actually go back to GoDaddy here and just grab this domain name, copy it, and come back into the Investment Dominator. And right here within this field, we'll go ahead and actually just paste it. So you'll see HTTP www. So you don't have to add that. Just go ahead and add your actual domain name. So lotsofcashoffers.com. Go ahead and click on this button here to confirm that you've pointed your CNAME record to the Investment Dominator. Go ahead and click on Next. So now it'll prompt you one more time for confirmation. We'll go ahead and confirm these changes. And it'll take about a second for this to kind of go ahead and process. But the next thing that we're going to go ahead and do is generate our security for our website. So in order to do that, keep in mind that it is free, but let's say right after you are prompted that you changed your domain and you got that confirmation, what you're going to see, if we go ahead and type SSL into the user guide, there's an article here called Generate and Install Your SSL Certificate. Now, because I already set up my domain before within the Investment Dominator, it's registering that I do have that security already added. So it's only prompting me to hit OK. If it's your first time creating a new domain and adding it to the Investment Dominator, then you'll see here that you'll have the option, besides just hitting on OK, to click here to secure your domain. Remember to click that button to secure your domain. Then you'll see the option where you can generate your SSL. It's really just as simple as clicking this button. You'll then see a loading screen, and then you'll get a confirmation once this is done. So then the next thing for you to do is to actually just go ahead and update your site. And you can even check on your website if you had wanted to. All right. So you have set up everything that you needed to within the Investment Dominator, and you are all caught up with really the basics. So from this point on, you might be wondering, what do you do next, and what are the kind of next steps in order for you to, prepare your journey with the Investment Dominator. And what you can go ahead and do is actually, if we go back to the help section that we were at, and again, I'll close this here. If you don't remember, go to help, go to search our user guide, and go ahead and type in a quick start, just like that, and search our user guide. And then you'll be presented with these three main articles here. So you have Quick Start 1, 2, and 3. Under Quick Start 1, if you click it, it'll just walk you through all the steps that we went ahead to take today for today's call and just getting introduced. And if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, you'll actually see that there's a list of resources that are available for you right kind of after doing one of these calls, for instance, and just getting all set up and getting ready. So for instance, if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, there's articles on how you can go ahead and import data into the Investment Dominator. So, creating your land list and being able to send out to those prospect records and fill out information via uploaded CSV file. Or you'll see here we have our optional data feed service option, which is data tree, and how you can begin to pull that list. Then next, what you want to go ahead and begin to research is how you can send out your first mailing. So there's several options here as far as how you can send out documents generated for your prospects, or even custom documents that you would have created as well too, which we go over on our Thursday calls, which is a more advanced session. You'll also see here our REI print mail integration, which is very helpful for sending out your first mailing. Then you'll see here more just generating an offer package, so you'll see articles about that, and then customizing your websites. So really, this is the next step for you to kind of just browse all the information here and just kind of see if there's anything specifically that you want to hone into, such as importing, or let's say you've imported already and now you want to customize your letters and send out your first mailing. So hopefully these resources will help you. And down below, all the way at the bottom, you'll see this integration section. And what this section is going to include is all of our outside integrations that are incorporated with the Investment Dominator. So again, that's the data tree option, the Actum active loans that we have, and REI print mail. So if you guys have any questions at all, we'll go ahead and dive into those topics. Let's say if you wanted to go back to the phone systems at any time, or talk about anything specifically that you have with the Investment Dominator. For those new people that are joining, and for existing members, as a reminder, go ahead and just click on the questions drop down and go ahead and ask those questions. But a couple things that I did want to go ahead and bring up. For instance, if you are trying to use the REI print mail integration, I do believe there's a temporary pause that we have on that while we go ahead and update some of the existing features. So we should have that back up and running by tomorrow or the day after, but just keep in mind that that is going to be temporarily paused for right now. And actually, if you're new also to the Investment Dominator, one thing you want to keep in mind is how you can view these past recordings. So actually, if you go to the help section of the Investment Dominator here, you'll see not only these quick start session videos here, but this weekly live Q&A training calls. So this is how you went ahead and registered for our Monday session here. And this is how you can register for our Thursday sessions. So, Mondays at 5 mid-standard time and Thursdays are at noon. So whether or not you can make these sessions, signing up for them will give you the notifications. And if you click on the link right down below, you can actually view previous calls that were done. And this is just a great option for you to review past materials or see all the latest and greatest with the Investment Dominator and any missed sessions at all. For instance, a Monday session here where we go over all the topics, the big three, and answer any questions. So it's available in that format where it timestamps, and what you'll go ahead and see is that on every article, there's actually an associated video with that. And then you'll be able to basically go to these timestamps within the videos here and find the section that directly applies to you. So hopefully that helps you to be able to see those live recordings as well as get some, answers with that as well too. And at any time you are using the Investment Dominator, we really want you to feel like there is a community that is around to help and support you with resources when working with the Investment Dominator. So keep in mind that if you have any recommendations and you come across something, you send in a ticket and you want to kind of see if this option is around and we tell you to suggest a feature. If you go ahead and click, so right under the search our user guide is suggest a feature. You can go ahead and suggest a feature and we can process that and see if we can implement that in another update. But if at any time you have an issue with the Investment Dominator and has to deal with a technical issue, so let's say you have lost access to your account and you need us to reset your password, we can go ahead and process that request as well. Let's say you're generating a document and you notice something was happening to your website. Well, we really recommend you to go ahead and create a new support ticket. This will go ahead and be the fastest way that we can, track and implement a solution to an issue that you have. So it's really as simple as saying, what your issue is. So this is my issue. And just keep in mind that whenever you're sending a ticket out to ticket support, it's really helpful for you to go ahead and provide documentation, whether that be through, recorded video, depending on the issue, or a screenshot. And this really goes a long way in helping us troubleshoot any issues that you would have, as well as providing a link to the issue. So if you notice the issue on a specific page with the Investment Dominator, go ahead and just copy and paste that link right there, and we'll go ahead and take a look at that too, as well as fill in the following information here. So what platform you use, I'm using a computer PC, what browser you use, and I'm using Chrome. But depending on where you are and what you are using, let's say if you're using Firefox or Safari or anything else such as tablets, mobiles, or a Mac computer, you'll have those options there. Then you want to go ahead and fill out your priority. And do keep in mind that every ticket, you'll get a response back within 24 hours. We're usually a lot faster than that. And depending on the importance of your issue, so if you list it as critical, that's really that 24-hour response window. Important would be a 48-hour response window, and a normal request would be about a 72-hour response window. So depending on, the severity of your issue, just go ahead and list that as appropriate. Then last, you can go ahead and attach files. So you can either choose files, or you can, let's say, again, if we're in the help section here, let's search in effective. There's an article here called How to Effectively Report Technical Issues for Support. What you can go ahead and do with this is see that we have a capture tool, which you can use actually for your selling website. Let's say you wanted to grab images of your property and have that hosted onto your selling website. This is also a great capture tools that you can go ahead and do that. Just keep in mind that you don't want to download any specific link. You want to go to the TechSmith Capture Tool website, which you'll see listed here, and you'll be able to download that exact tool. It'll basically, when you open it, it'll look like this, and you can go ahead and select either picture or video and the dimension size. And then, for instance, if you're just taking a picture, you could take a picture of the issue and just go ahead and paste that directly into the support ticket. We can view that much easier and much faster. Just keep in mind that when support is reaching back to you on an issue, we will primarily always use TechSmith as a capture tool to really get a fast response back to you. So we do have a question here. My question is from Deopatra, and they're asking how we can point a website to the Investment Dominator if it was built up by someone at Fiverr. So this is a great topic for you to bring up. Thanks for bringing that up. And what you'll actually see here is we have so again, let's go to the user guide article, which we have here. Let's go back, search our user guide, and we're going to type in the appropriate site that we're going to use. So for this case, I was using my selling site. Let's say we go to buying site. there's something also I want to bring up too while we're on the topic of buying site. But you'll see here that on the buying site, we actually do have a new custom theme option. So if you weren't aware of this before, you really want to check this out because this new custom theme for your buying site looks fabulous. And before we had the teal profits, the blue profits, and the red and black profits, but now we have this land gen option as well too. So, but first I'll go ahead and help that question. So basically, when it comes to the Investment Dominator, you need to have a separate domain which you can link to the Investment Dominator. Now, with that being said, depending on the website that you have, if your website is its own dedicated website and resource, you won't be able to implement that into the Investment Dominator. Now, what I'm saying is that if your Fiverr developer used basic HTML and CSS to design your website, what you can actually go ahead and do is create a method like this. So here's all the required files and all of the required stuff that you would need to create that website. What they're going to go ahead and do is you can give them this guide as well so they can see exactly what's needed in order for them to do what they need to do, including merge fields and all that. And we go over this extensively in our Thursday calls as well too, but you can see here, if you would want to hire a HTML or CSS developer, what they can go ahead and do is create a zip folder for you. So let's go ahead and actually take a look at this land gen just to kind of show you what we're talking about. So you'll see here that right when clicking on land gen, I'll get a zip folder. This zip folder is similar to what your developer will be sending to you. So the developer on your buying or selling site, whichever one you had them do, should give you a folder like this. And this folder will basically include, which we'll see here as well, the required files as well as any optional files as well too. So you'll need the index, the header, so all this information. Now, if you're somebody who's just, taking that theme and uploading it directly into your Investment Dominator, you don't have to worry about specifically, what's going into your that folder. But what you're going to want to go ahead and do is take that zip folder and download it here. So for instance, I'll completely remove the theme since I already had it in my system. So now once that Fiverr developer is ready and they have given you that zip folder, now what you're going to go ahead and do is click on Upload Custom Theme. So you're not going to want to unpack anything. You're actually just going to want to take that whole zip folder and upload it directly into the Investment Dominator. You'll then get a message that says your theme was uploaded correctly. So it's really just as simple as that. And you'll see here, this was the default custom theme option that we have provided. So, depending on your developer, they'll send you a folder exactly like that. And you would do the same exact process as we just performed, just uploading it into your Investment Dominator. So then the only thing left for you to do is to go ahead and select that option. By selecting it, you'll see that it now has a blue outline hovered over it. Scroll down all the way to the bottom again, and you now have the option to update your site, and you'll see your site is updated. And if you go over here to websites and we go to buying site, we'll see exactly our new website. So, the staff over here at Investment Dominator has been working really hard to be able to implement new websites, and we're still constantly working to be able to provide really some great services out there. So you'll see here down below, we just have this sample, sample buying site video as well here that's listed, and as well as filling out your information. So if this is your first time seeing this, this is really a great step forward in what we're trying to do to create new websites for everybody. So this is the new custom option that is available called land gen. You can see it's a very clean website and really has some infographics here, which is great and goes a long way in promoting our website. So hopefully that does answer your question, but really going over here and just typing in buying site into the user guide, being able to click on creating your own buying site theme, you'll get that explanation that you need to go ahead and give to your developer, as well as what developer to find. And you'll get also examples here of files that can be created. And again, just what's needed and what needs to be added and where you need to upload. So hopefully that helps and answers your question. And it looks like we have a little bit of time for maybe one question left, if anybody has. But next, really, something that you want to look into is not only, if you go to the land section here, can you generate your documents, but after you imported your list, or let's say that you wanted to actually see importing your list. So for instance, if we go over here to, and again, if that was too fast for you guys, that was land and going to import. So we're default selected to this option import by CSV file, and we're creating new records. So what you would go ahead and do is actually just choose your file that you want to go ahead and work with. Let's say, I think I should have maybe a list that we can work with real quick. So this is 5 land records. We'll go ahead and upload this list, and you'll see that there's a new window that pops up. So if this is your first time using the Investment Dominator, you'll just notice that there's a pop-up window which will go ahead and process your CSV file, if that's the option that you're choosing to import into the Investment Dominator. And you have also the option to go ahead. You don't have to just look at the status bar. You can work and do any other function just by hitting on OK Close. So what you'll notice here is that under pending imports, or actually just got the notification now that our records have imported. So looks like I already had that list already within my system, but just some things to highlight here. You'll see the name of the file that you went ahead and selected, and how many records were imported, as well as how many of those new owners you have, existing owners, new properties, and existing properties. So if at any time, let's say that you forgot what that menu screen looked like, and let's say if you scroll down to the bottom here, you'll see pending imports and the appropriate file name. So next you'll have the status, which was completed, as well as the progress, which is at 100, and the date for when you uploaded and when it was completed. Let's say, for instance, you forgot the screen that we just saw and you didn't see that you actually uploaded these records twice. So if you click right here under Actions, you click on Details, you'll see the exact details that were provided right when we imported the records into the Investment Dominator. So if at any time you didn't see this screen, just keep in mind that you are still able to pull this up. So this is going to cover our Monday call. And I do want to keep it consistent and end on a quote. So we'll go ahead and stop answering questions here today, and we'll keep all of the available questions that we have left for our Thursday session, where we talk more about advanced topics with the Investment Dominator. But our quote here that we have is from Plato. And the quote goes, "Never discourage anyone who continually makes progress, no matter how slow." So just keep in mind, especially with the maximizer coming up, there's really going to be a lot going on with the Investment Dominator and being able to keep track of all your goals. So my advice for you guys is to set those micro goals, such as, getting the land list, being able to filter through that list, then being able to process that list, and setting up these goals will really set you up for success. And just keep in mind of the end result of getting paid. So just being persistent and being consistent with the Investment Dominator is really enough to really propel you forward. And the community that's provided as well, such as the ticket section, and just replying to IT or the help section and just having those articles, there's really a lot of resources that you could come to for help. So with all that being said, really get prepared and deep dive and take a look at all the resources that we prepared here for today. And if you guys have any questions about that, we can go ahead and process that on our Thursday calls. But again, thank you everybody so much for joining today, and thank you for your time. And we'll go ahead and see you on another session with the Investment Dominator. So all right, everybody, have a great night and goodbye.